What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, welcome back to another edition of Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. You guys, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time out of your busy day, your busy week, your busy schedule to spend, a little bit of time to hang out and chit-chat movies, movie news, all sorts of good stuff. Again, I'm flying solo today. I was flying solo yesterday, and like I said, doing the same thing today. So it's just going to be mano a mano. You and me, guys, back together again, as it was always intended. And before we jump off and start talking about some of the movies and movie news in the stratosphere today, don't forget to hop on over to youtube.com, type in Gotta Love Them Movies. You're going to see a red box in the top right-hand corner that says subscribe. Go ahead and click that button. What clicking that button does is it helps us to widen our subscriber base. But Mike, why do we need to go to YouTube? We're watching this on Facebook. Yes, I know, Robert. I'm going to go with Robert today. Yes, Robert, thank you for asking that question. It's a wonderful question. With the more subscribers we have, the more... sorry, I'm adjusting the volume levels on my microphone, or on my headphone. With the more subscribers we have, the more people watch the recorded content that I have on the channel. And with the more watch content, I begin to earn money, and I get to make this show my full-time job. So I really appreciate your help heading on over to YouTube and clicking that subscribe button. And of course, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, the show will move from Facebook to YouTube. So just something to be aware of on the horizon. All right, guys, now it's time to go over and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
All right, you guys, let's talk about some of the stuff that is in the news today. And this morning, this happened. Apparently, well, I guess technically this article was written last night, but apparently the trailer for the new upcoming Tom and Jerry movie is supposed to drop sometime today. I was checking all the way up until the start time of this video, which is 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. The trailer has not dropped yet, but it will drop at some point later today. I'm kind of looking forward to it because I don't think this is going to be a very good movie. Here's why. Let's jump into the article and let me scroll down. This particular article comes from Gadgets 360. I mean, like there's a whole bunch of articles around, but so this article, as this article points out, there hasn't been a Tom and Jerry movie, like an official movie made, since 1992, but they have started releasing some promo photos. Here you can see Tom and Jerry in front of the Statue of Liberty. Scroll up, here is Tom and Jerry in front of the Eiffel Tower. If we jump over to Screen Rant, here they are in front of Tower Bridge over in London. So I mean, they have started doing a little bit of promotions in this, but here's what I want to kind of draw everyone's attention to. This particular movie, even though it has a pretty good cast with Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena, Ken Young, Rob Delaney. I'm not too familiar with Pallavi Sharda. I'm not too familiar with her work. But it's got some decent talent. Rob Delaney, like I said, Ken Young, Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena. But here's the thing: it's being directed by Tim Story. If you're not familiar with Tim Story is the director of the first Fantastic Four movie back in 2005. He also directed what was the name of that movie? Womp. Oh, it's escaping me. Hold on. I'm so sorry. It's here in the article. Ride Along, 2014's Ride Along. I want to like Tim Story. I feel like of all of the interviews that I've seen from him and like the behind the scenes making of and all this stuff, he seems like a really nice guy. He just seems like a really cool guy who just loves this stuff and is passionate. I don't think Tim Story is as proficient in film directing as we would like him to be. That's just my personal opinion. If you like Ride Along, great, go for it. If you like Fantastic Four, the original 2005 version, great, that's awesome, good for you. I just don't think that he's the kind of director that speaks to me. And I would love to see a little bit more from him. And so, I love Tom and Jerry. I love Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry is one of those IPs that I've always been in love with. I mean, there's something about, like, same thing for Wile E. Coyote in Roadrunner. I think I like Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner a little bit more than Tom and Jerry. But there's something about those silent film characters who just run around and do slapstick comedy, and it's sometimes it's stupid, but sometimes the way that they go about executing this slapstick is really, really clever. Let's jump back into the article for a second. We get a bit of a synopsis here as to what this movie is about. Kayla is a new employee. Kayla is being portrayed by Chloe Grace Moretz. Kayla is the new employee at a posh hotel where Jerry, the cat, takes up residence, threatening to ruin a glamorous wedding. Jerry the mouse, Jerry the mouse takes up residence, threatening to ruin a glamorous wedding. So she hires a broke alley cat named Tom to come in and get rid of Jerry, which proves to be easier said than done. That may be for the best, as the duo will likely need each other to defeat Kayla's villainous boss, who isn't a big fan of either one. Now, you guys, this is a horribly written press release. This is a horribly written synopsis. Whoever wrote this, man, I sure hope it wasn't Tim Story, because he seems like such a nice guy. But the synopsis of this film right here is somewhat confusing. It's somewhat confusing, especially the last half. And I'm just talking from a grammar standpoint, like, who exactly are we talking about when you say the duo? Because you've already announced 3 different groupings of people. And then in the last sentence, you introduce a 4th character, her villainous boss. I assume that's probably going to be Rob Delaney. I assume. Unless it's Michael Pena. I don't know. But yeah, I mean... Or, I don't know, maybe it's Ken Jeong. Ken Jeong, sometimes he can play the villainous characters and things. It doesn't matter who the villainous character is. It's just... First of all, this press release is confusing. The synopsis of this movie is a little confusing. First of all, which grouping are they talking about? And then I had to read it a few times to realize, oh, they're talking about Tom and Jerry. The duo will likely need each other, Tom and Jerry, to get out of this mess. But I don't know. This is the kind of synopsis. It sounds like this is going to end up being the kind of movie that you just kind of like put your hand on the side of your face and go, oh man, what is happening right now? I am all for blending 2D animation with live action settings and backgrounds. I think that is a really interesting aesthetic. I think that could work. I think that could work really, really well. It annoys me. It annoys me when you have these popular franchises that are based on very specific characters. Tom and Jerry works because it's Tom and Jerry. Not because there's other human elements. The human elements that happen to pop up in Tom and Jerry, first of all, you never see their faces. You never see their faces. And the human elements in the Tom and Jerry cartoons really don't add anything except for context. That's it. They only add context. So all of this stuff of like, oh, we need to set up a villain. Like, of course there has to be. No, there doesn't have to be a villain. Tom is the villain. End of story. If you need a villain, Tom's the villain. Or if you need a villain, sometimes Jerry can be a villain. If you're not familiar with the Tom and Jerry cartoons, they get brutal with each other sometimes. Like, I watch some of, and like I said, I love the Tom and Jerry cartoons. But sometimes they take turns being the bad guy. Usually it's Tom. Usually Tom ends up being the bad guy. but not always. Sometimes Jerry's the jerk, and sometimes they get a third of, like Spike. Spike the dog sometimes comes in, and he becomes the one element for them to kind of like defeat, right? So like the same trope happens all the time in this type of storytelling. We've seen it in Sonic the Hedgehog. We've even seen it in Transformers. Like, why does Shia LaBeouf need to be the main focus of the movie? He shouldn't. It should be Optimus Prime. Not that hard to figure out, guys. And I get it. You need to give your audience an entry point so that like there's some sort of relatability as to what's happening and to what's going on. And I also understand that if you just made an hour and a half long movie of Tom and Jerry either bits or like shorts all smashed in together, it wouldn't be that interesting. I understand. There needs to be narrative. I agree. There needs to be narrative. But there's a way to do it. Like the Peanuts movie was perfect. It was brilliant. Now, again, granted, it's all human elements. It's all kids, and it's all their relationships. So maybe that is not the best of examples, but there is a way to capture the spirit of who these characters are, what it is that they do, and why we love them so much. You can do that for an hour and a half. Even cut it down by 10 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. That's still a full-length feature film. I don't know, guys. I'm going to see the movie because I love Tom and Jerry, and I'm moderately interested to see how this plays out, and I'm really looking forward to the trailer, which is going to drop later today. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the new Tom and Jerry trailer? Are you looking forward to it? Are you looking forward to the movie? Are you going to see the movie? How do you think that this is going to play out? Do you agree with some of my points, or is there something that I, forgot to mention or just don't know enough about it to mention it? Jump down to the comment section below. I do that every single day. The comic section below. It is not the comic section below. It is the comment section below. Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys, let's move on to a bit of news number 2, and we're keeping on the theme of cartoons, you guys. We're keeping on the theme of cartoons. Darkwing Duck. It is being reported that another classic Disney television show is being rebooted, and this time in the form of Darkwing Duck. I adored Darkwing Duck. I loved Darkwing Duck growing up. Darkwing Duck. All right, so like in this vein, right, we have DuckTales, we had Chippendales Rescue Rangers, we had Darkwing Duck, we had Tailspin, shoot, I feel like there was another one. I feel like I'm leaving one out. I know there was Gummy Bears. There's another one. There was another this is killing me. Oh, I can't think of what it is. Anyway, so like we had a whole bunch of these properties, right? And they were all very similarly themed, like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, like the Gummy Bear. Even though their universes didn't really like collide with each other. I mean, they kind of did. Like Launchpad McQuack was in both DuckTales and Darkwing Duck. And I know in the new DuckTales reboot, sorry, I lost my train of thought. In the DuckTales reboot, that's currently on Disney Plus right now. Or Disney XD, maybe? I don't know how that works. I know that they have introduced elements to Darkwing Duck. I know that Darkwing Duck is like a comic book hero in that DuckTales universe, or like he's a star of a television show, or there's something like that. I also know that in season 3 of DuckTales, the new reboot of DuckTales, they have introduced Goslin, who is Darkwing Duck's daughter. They've introduced her into the storyline of DuckTales. So now there's this talk, and nothing's been greenlit. Nothing is like super official. Let's jump into the article here. This comes from Variety, and Variety ain't no side of the road gas station type of news outlet. But it is currently in early development. No animation cells have yet to be drawn, whatever. But I do want to bring this out because I think this is the most interesting point to me. No writer is currently attached to the project. Okay, you can't start drawing until you know what the story is. You don't know what the story is until you hire a writer. But sources say it will be executive produced by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. And, a whole bunch of other people. Specifically Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. That's really interesting to me. That's really, really interesting to me because I love these two. I love this pairing. I love the kind of stuff that they put out. They executive produce a lot of stuff, and not just produce stuff. Like, they direct their own stuff. They write their own stuff. Seth Rogen acts in their own stuff. And this is the most interesting thing to me because, they're not going to bring like curse words and filthy potty humor into Darkwing Duck. But if they're behind it, they're going to push the envelope just a little bit, in terms of like, not just, and again, I'm not saying like in terms of like being crude or foul. Yeah. See what I did there? But in terms of doing really fun, interesting things that you wouldn't normally expect to see Darkwing Duck and Launchpad McQuack and, Goslin and, I'm looking at his face right now. The other guy, the little guy in the, the little guy in the photo. I can't think of his name. He's the best friend of Goslin. Anyway, I'm really interested to see what this could be. Now, as the article points out, it's in early stages of development. Which means you're still trying to figure out what is the show going to be? How is it going to work? What universe is it going to be set in? Is it going to be set in the same universe as DuckTales? Or is it going to be completely its own thing? They don't know. They're working out the details right now, which is why there's no writer attached to it, because they don't have a clear direction for it. They're working on it. But yeah, I think this is really cool. I'm totally down for a DuckTales reboot. Yesterday I went in on a big long rant as to why reboots, remakes, sequels, like all that stuff, what types of properties that you should do it with and what types of properties you should not do it with. This is the type of property that a reboot works perfectly for. Because today's generation, they don't know Darkwing Duck. I did, because I grew up with it. I love Darkwing Duck. Same thing with Ninja Turtles. Reboot Ninja Turtles, because that is a property that you can keep saying new things through these familiar characters' eyes. I've seen the Ninja Turtles, but I don't know anything about them. Well, here's a brand new property for you, kid. Oh, thank you. That's the dialogue that everybody's having right now. Okay, thank you. That's the dialogue. Anyway, guys, question is for you guys. What do you think of the Darkwing Duck reboot? Are you looking forward to it? Are you over it? Are you just like, man, Disney, make more original content? Is that your voice? Can you please make original content? Yes, we can, and here you go. Okay, thank you. Where is your... This is a terrible bit. I don't know why I'm doing this. Guys, jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts about Darkwing Duck being rebooted. All right, guys, let's move on to our next bit of movie news. And this is confusing, maybe a little, to say the least. As we all know, Zack Snyder has been working on the Snyder Cut of... Excuse me. I just realized I don't have a beverage sitting right next to me. I have a pen. I thought something looked off today. Zack Snyder has been working on the Snyder Cut of the Justice League. And as was announced at DC Fandom a few months ago, I think it was back in August, I think is when Fandom was. There was a big, huge hubbub, a big, huge hullabaloo to say that, the Snyder Cut version of Justice League is going to be 4 hours long. It's going to come out on HBO Max in 1 hour episodes. So it's, 4 episodes, 1 hour per episode, 4 hours long. And details have started emerging that, there are things that he is putting into this that he didn't have in his original draft. Even when he cut and put together kind of like his 4-hour Snyder cut version, there are things that he was like, you know what, let's add this in. If we're going to do it, let's just add more content, right? The budget originally for this thing was going to be around $30 million. And then when I think like press agencies started asking Warner Brothers about it, and they're like, how much is this? Is it going to be $30 million? Are you paying $30 million to produce the Snyder Cut? Warner Brothers execs were like, oh man, we wish it was $30 million. That'd be nice. Turns out it's upwards of $70 million. $70 million just to make this thing. And estimates are saying it's actually probably going to be a little bit more. And this is one of the reasons. Jared Leto is coming back to reprise his role as the Joker. So I think that's bit of movie news number one in this scenario. Jared Leto is coming back to reprise his role as the Joker. That was never in the original script. That's not something that Zack Snyder ever planned for. But it's happening. Now, as this particular article points out, and I think it bears mentioning, this article comes from Bloody Disgusting. Zack Snyder was interviewed on, there's another YouTuber named Grace Randolph. She interviewed Zack Snyder. In fact, the whole interview, here, let me just scroll down to it. There's the interview right there. I mean, if you go over to Grace Randolph's channel, you can watch the full interview. It's a 30-minute interview where she just talks to him about his involvement in the Snyder Cut, like some of his other projects. They go into detail about Jared Leto and like how that whole thing came to be. And Zack Snyder basically says he never intended for there to be a Joker in the Justice League movie. But now that they're doing a 4-hour thing, he's decided, hey, here's an aspect of the story that could benefit from having the Joker in it. Okay, cool. And as this particular article points out, the look of the Joker is going to change. The look of the Joker is going to change slightly. Let's jump into the article just a little bit. I don't want to go too deep, but right here, one of the things that Zack Snyder said, let me highlight this for you. He says, I wanted to, of course, honor what had been created with him, speaking of Jared Leto, or rather of the Joker, because I thought it was really cool. But I also felt like, well, I'm not going to tell you what happens in this little scene, but there is some water has gone under the proverbial bridge the last time we saw Joker, and this appearance, he's a road-weary Joker. I guess that's a way of saying it. So I think that's the biggest description that we have for this version of the Joker so far, is that he's a road-weary Joker. What does that mean? He's a road-weary Joker. I think we're going to see a very similar concept of Jared Leto's Joker in this film, or version, television show, limited series, whatever we're calling it. But I also think that Zack Snyder is going to try and change ever so slightly, not go in a completely different direction. I think they're going to keep a lot of similar aspects to the Suicide Squad version of the Joker, directed by David Ayer. I think they're going to keep a lot of elements from that, but kind of update it. I mean, since that movie came out in 2016, so already 4 years has gone by. By the time this thing comes out next year, 5 years will have gone by, right? So I don't think it's unfair to say that 5 years from the Joker's perspective, like within the narrative of the story, it's possible that 5 years may have gone by since Suicide Squad. So by the time that Jared Leto's Joker appears in Justice League movie, I think he's going to be just tired. I think he will, like, being a crime boss and being a villain and being an agent of chaos, is time consuming and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And I think Zack Snyder realizes that. And I think that's where this road-weary version of Joker is going to come from. I think we're going to get a lot of the same elements that we got in the 2016 Suicide Squad version of Joker, but just updated and be like, wow, like, I love what I do. This is great, but I'm tired. Like, I'm weathered. I think the character of Joker will have changed a little bit. Is he going to be the mob boss that he was in the Suicide Squad movie? Maybe, maybe not. We'll just have to wait and find out and see what that is. But I think the big question is for you guys: what does a road-weary version of the Joker mean to you? What do you think this Joker is going to be like? What do you like? How? Having seen and having 3 years to sit with the Justice League movie, and knowing that there are changes happening, there's going to be a 4-hour version of Justice League. How is Joker? What are your thoughts? How is Joker going to fit into this world of the Justice League, into the narrative of the Justice League? What do you think he's going to look like? What do you think he's going to sound like? What do you think his narrative purpose is going to be? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know those thoughts. All right, guys, we have one last bit of movie news to cover before we're Audi 5000 today, and that is this. Yeah, deadline is confirmed. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord is showing up in the next Thor movie, Thor: Love and Thunder. There's not a lot of information that this particular article points out. Let's scroll down and read really quick. As you can see, like, this is a very short article. Chris Pratt's Guardians of the Galaxy character will be in Taika Waititi's upcoming Marvel sequel, Thor: Love and Thunder. This is not a shocker, of course. Blah 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 blah. You know, the movie is currently in pre-production down in Australia. They're going to start filming in 2021, and then it just goes on to say Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Natalie Portman, Christian Bale, blah 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 blah, like all this stuff, right? That's the entire article, you guys. That's the entire article. So all we know is that Chris Pratt is going to be in Thor: Love and Thunder. That's what we know. What is he going to do? What is his function? There's a lot of speculation all over the place. I've heard some people saying that, you know, Chris Pratt is going to be he's going to play a similar role to like the Hulk in Thor Ragnarok. It's gonna be kind of like a buddy movie. Like, hey, here's Thor and here's Star-Lord, and off they go on this weird, wacky, crazy adventure. Could be. I mean, the last we saw either of these characters was in the movie Endgame. Avengers Endgame, it ended with Thor jumping on Star-Lord's ship, and off they went. They had that whole kind of word battle of wits, I guess you could say, as to who is the captain of the ship, who is in charge here. Is it Star-Lord? Oh yes, most definitely, it's Star-Lord. Or was it Thor? Oh, well, of course, everybody thinks I'm in charge, but I'm going to default to you, right? So it was a really funny bit. It was lighthearted. It was fun. And that was the last that we saw of them. And then, of course, people started running with Asgardians of the Galaxy, right? Asgardians of the Galaxy. I mean, that very well could have been the script that James Gunn wrote. But by the time that James Gunn finishes the Suicide Squad over at Warner Brothers and then comes back to Marvel to do work on Guardians 3, Thor: Love and Thunder's already going to be out in theaters, right? Theaters. We'll see if that happens. Who knows what's going on there? More on that later. But I think it's interesting to note that Chris Pratt is going to be in the Thor movie. Is it just going to be at the very beginning? Is Chris Pratt just going to, are we going to see Thor walk off of Star-Lord's ship and say, well, thanks for the ride, Earthling. I'm not an Earthling. Well, but you're from Earth. Well, yeah, but get out of here. Well, all right. Thank you, Earthling. It could be an exchange similar to that, just to start the movie, and then Thor goes off on his adventures, doing whatever he's gonna do. I don't know. I mean, we know Natalie Portman is going to play a very, very huge role in this, where she eventually will take up the mantle of Thor, essentially. So in the comics, there's a storyline where Jane Foster gets cancer, and as she's going through chemotherapy and fighting and like beating cancer, somehow, through some way, through some blah 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 whatever, she becomes endowed with the powers of Thor, and so she gets to wield Mjolnir, the hammer. And she goes around and does all the stuff that Thor can't do, or is like not around to do. I don't know, something like that. And then in that case, the title of Thor becomes more of like a mantle as opposed to an actual name, which is extremely hokey and cheesy and dumb. If you're gonna imbue Natalie Portman's character like Jane Foster with godlike powers, just give her a new name. Like, why does she have to be Thor? I understand that's the inscription of the hammer, but guess what? Captain America he didn't become Thor when he became worthy to hold Mjolnir. So semantics, whatever, doesn't matter. But we know Natalie Portman is going to have a big role. She is going to become kind of the wielder of Mjolnir in this film. So there have to be adventures on Earth, right? And I think it'd be really interesting to see Star-Lord back on Earth, experiencing Earth the way he never really got to. He experienced Earth up until he was, like 7 years old, 8 years old, until he was, taken away in a spaceship and with Yondu and blah, 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 all that stuff. So I think that could be really interesting to see Earth from Star-Lord's perspective. So, but then again, who knows? Like, who knows what this story is going to be? It's now been confirmed that Chris Pratt is going to be in the movie. Is he going to be in the movie a little? Is he going to be in the movie a lot? We have no idea. We have no details. But the question is for you guys, what theories do you have? What function, what role do you think Star-Lord is going to play in Thor: Love and Thunder? Or if you have a lisp, I guess you could say for Love and Thunder. Maybe. I don't know. But question is for you guys, what do you think is going to happen? Jump on down to the comment section below. I did it again. The comment section below. The comment section below. And let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, so with all of that down and out of the way, this ends the show. I guess we're ending a little bit early today. Thank you so much for jumping in, for watching a few videos and spending some time with us this morning. You guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Tom and Jerry would want you to do. All right, guys, this is Gotta Love the Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And you guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness in the world today, please take that opportunity. Please speak kind words to each other. And in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you tomorrow.